Responding to some questions that a subscriber, Terrence, actually asked about the new spare tire setup that I have on my Tacoma back here. Well, good morning everybody. How are you today? Pretty good here, and welcome to the channel. Hey, I thought I'd get on here today and make a video responding to some questions that a subscriber, Terrence, actually asked about the new spare tire setup that I have on my Tacoma back here. I made a video a few days ago showing how to do this, how to install it, and I've had a lot of comments, people asking or questions about the view out of the back, the stability of it, just a myriad of things. And Terrence came on and kind of asked a whole group of questions. So I thought, instead of responding to those questions, on that comment that he made, I'd go ahead and make a video about it so that I could answer them for the masses, so that anybody that was curious about the same things, and there were several people that asked some of these questions, so I know there are others out there who are curious as well. But I thought I'd go ahead and make this video responding to Terrence's questions about my spare tire setup here in the back of my Toyota Tacoma. Okay, first question, and I've got him here on my phone. Terrence asked, will this placement interfere with your bedrack installation? Now, that is a great question, and to answer it briefly, I would say yes, it will. I got to looking at this myself, and actually, the way the bedrack will sit, it'll start here, about here or so in the back, and then go about 4 feet up. Now, I do think that it would probably clear, but the problem then would be pulling the tire forward to actually get it away from the mount that I have there. So technically, it really wouldn't interfere with the rack itself. I mean, the rack will sit here and then extend about 4 feet or so up to here and still be in front of the tire, I think. So that's not really the issue. The issue would be pulling the tire off with the rack on. Next up, Terrence commented, a coated or covered cable might prevent scratching the finish of your wheel. Now, maybe you just couldn't see this real well in the video, I'm not sure, but I actually do have that. Let's walk out here and let me show you up close what I do have. And you can see right on here, actually right there, it is a covered cable, if you will. This has a plastic or a rubber sheath over it, so it will not rub on the wheel up there. Now, that's not to say that over time, if that vibrates or rubs around up there, that it might not wear down, and then you would have the stranding or the braided metal cable up against the wheel. And of course, if that happened, there would then be damage to the wheel. I mean, if you had that braided cable rubbing against the painted finish on the wheel, it would be kind of like a file going back and forth on there, and then indeed it would cause damage. But to answer the question, I do have something covering the cable on there now, so not really a concern, at least in the short run. Next up, Terrence said, didn't you produce a video about how easy it was to break a master lock with a couple of wrenches? And yes, I did indeed. And yes, it is pretty simple. I would argue, though, that any security device that you utilize is merely a deterrent. It's how strong the deterrent is, I guess. And further, I would say that if anybody's out there looking to steal, a spare tire off the back of my truck, they're not probably going to be carrying a full complement of tools with them. Wrenches and hammers and sockets and all that kind of stuff. Frankly, they'd almost have to be pushing around a toolbox to be able to do that. So while yes, it is rather easy to break a padlock if you have the right wrenches with you, and not only the right wrenches, they have to be the right size, right? I mean, they have to fit on there the way that I showed in that video. And you also have to have time. Part of securing anything, I think, is doing it in a way that will take the potential thief time to be able to steal whatever it is they're trying to steal. I mean, if they've got to be out there in broad daylight, out in the public, working on something to break a lock for half an hour, they're probably going to move on to the next one. I mean, the tire that I have in the back isn't worth, you know, $10,000 or something. There are certainly bigger targets out there than me. So, no, I'm not concerned about that. Yes, it can be done, but I would argue that any security feature can be defeated given the right tools, know-how, and time. Next comment is, you need a jack that can raise your truck enough to change the front tires. Absolutely. And this is true with any lifted vehicle, any lifted truck. I mean, when you lift it up, or not, it's not really even the lift, I guess, it's the height of the tires. When the tires raise the chassis up, if you will, or the frame up, you need to be able to accommodate that added distance with your jack. You know, the OEM jack that comes with the truck is barely tall enough and barely substantial enough to raise the truck up as it is, let alone once you raise it up in the air, right? And that is a concern. And this really doesn't have anything to do with my spare tire, I guess. But that is a concern. I've been thinking about that. I have a couple of ideas, and of course there are a myriad of things you can do. You could buy a bigger jack, you could buy a floor jack, you can get one of those off-road kind of old style crank jacks, or simply a couple of blocks of wood. You know, something you can put under your existing jack to get it up a little bit higher so that you can jack the truck up high enough to be able to clear your taller tires. So yeah, I am thinking about that. I do have a solution for it, or at least what I'm going to do. I'm not going to give that away here. That will be a video in the future, but absolutely, that is definitely a concern. Next up, I told you there were a lot of questions here. Next up is, he said rather, don't you drive around with your back headrest down because they block your view and now you mount your spare tire in the way. I anticipated this coming up, and it has come up a few times via comments on that video rather. And yeah, I do drive around with the back headrest slanted down as they were designed to do, to give me a cleaner, clearer shot out of the back window. I did produce a video, you guys will see it, where I'll show you what the view is now, so that you can kind of see what the impact of having this spare tire back there is. Obviously, it's going to block part of the window because it comes up right across the back. We'll take a look here. You guys can see, obviously, it is going to block part of the window, the whole center part here, basically. But I gotta be honest, you know, in doing this mod, one of my main concerns, or my bigger concern, is having a spare tire should I need it. There is a blocked view, obviously, in that center part of the window there, but I think having a spare tire in case of emergency, or if you need it to stop you from being stranded somewhere, far outweighs the amount of view space that I lose. Anyway, like I said, there is going to be a video coming out. You guys will need to check that out, where I'll show you exactly what the impact of having this tire there is, and then you can make your own decision. What's more important to you? We have one final question left here. Let me go ahead and read that. It says, this looks cool, but is a smaller temporary spare really going to make that much of a difference? I'm not talking about an emergency donut. I'm talking about 31 inches versus 33 inches, and just until you can get to a shop. Well, yeah, I mean, you could throw that 31 inch or stock spare on, you know, leave it underneath on the back, which I'm sure is what a lot of people are doing, and I'm betting a lot of people haven't even thought about a spare if they've got bigger tires and a lift and all that stuff. So yeah, you could throw it on, but you know, I really want a permanent solution in everything that I do. I like to be self-sufficient, right? To me, that means if I'm out on the road somewhere and I get a flat tire, I have the ability to put something on that is permanent, or could be permanent. You know, I don't have to try to limp to a station somewhere and spend hours or maybe even a night while they bring a new tire in, because they probably don't have the ones I have in stock. I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to slap a tire on there that is just as good as what I have, although I will tell you my spare is not the same tire, but it would get me through on a trip or whatever. I wouldn't have to worry about changing it until I got to my destination or had time at my leisure to go ahead and do anything else I might need to do. So really, it's kind of personal preference. It's kind of what you want as far as a spare goes for you. For me, I want something that is permanent or could be permanent, and I don't have to worry about screwing with it or limping to a gas station or a shop. I mean, think about if it's at night when nobody's open, or on a Sunday or a holiday. Then what? You're going to spend the weekend somewhere, all because you don't have a tire that you can get back out on the road and drive with? That's kind of my rationale or my thinking there. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to get on here. Terrence asked a lot of questions, a lot of valid questions, and some that other folks had asked as well, so I thought I'd get on here and address them in this kind of a format, as opposed to typing all that stuff out. And you know, maybe some people who would wonder the same thing, never saw the response, or you know, who knows. So anyway, there's the answer to Terrence's group of questions. I appreciate the input, Terrence. As always, Terrence is a great friend of the channel, and anything that he asks I take as constructive. So I appreciate that, Terrence. Thank you very much. Also, real quick, if you haven't before and you're interested, check out my other channel. It is RobMotive JT, all about my 2020 Jeep Gladiator, sitting right up there. Don't forget to click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. And do me a favor, smash that subscribe button on the way out. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.